Tonight, assessing the damage as explosive wildfires tear through BC.
It's devastating to lose everything you've ever had.
As evacuees wait for answers, officials warn the danger is far from over. Panic as a powerful earthquake hits Japan. Now the race to find the missing in the rubble. And the delicate operation to clean up decades-old rotting fish sauce and the stench that comes with it.
Bit emotional, a lot of time within this project. Too much.
The small town hoping to finally clear the air.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chris Reyes.
Thank you for joining us. Adrian is away. There are warnings tonight that a massive out-of-control wildfire that forced hundreds to flee in British Columbia could grow even larger. The Pear Lake wildfire is burning over 668 square kilometers. It merged with another wildfire over the weekend. Officials now say weather conditions are expected to create extreme fire behavior, potentially spreading the flames even further. And crews on the ground are starting to assess the extent of the damage. Caroline Bargut now with the devastation and the growing fears that more could be lost.
In the village of Clinton, BC, the firefight is not over, but some residents living near the community fear there won't be anything left to return to.
It's devastating to lose everything you've ever had. Like, right from my own childhood, I had things that I'll never see again.
This was Crystal Ann Smith's home before wildfires forced her to flee. She says she's seen video online of what she believes is her house burned to the ground.
You know, I try not to feel stupid for thinking that the house was going to be okay, because I was, right up until the end, confident that that fire was not going to touch our house. And it absolutely flattened everything.
Clinton officials say an assessment team is on the ground surveying the damage and to wait for confirmation about properties. The mayor says so far the village appears intact, but there are some structural damages south of the community. Still, residents are not allowed back in.
Of course, with the hot embers and the little flare-ups, there are a few structural buildings that are damaged.
Hundreds of people in this region have been forced from their homes, and nearby communities have stepped up to help.
This is Toast. She's a mini that came into us.
Jessica Heikes has taken in 31 horses and 3 cows for fire evacuees.
To think about people losing everything.
Yeah.
And that's why we had no problem opening our arms to their animals. That's definitely not a problem for me.
BC Wildfire Service says strong winds and dry thunderstorms could make the situation worse.
We're expecting extreme fire behavior expected today, and significant growth on these incidents is possible. Our fuels remain heavily impacted by drought throughout the area and are highly susceptible to increased fire behavior.
As of Tuesday afternoon, more than 130 wildfires were burning in BC. Nearly 200 firefighters are assigned to this Pear Lake wildfire. And there's also 76 heavy pieces of equipment and 19 helicopters being used.
And what has to happen before those residents can go back to their community?
Well, Clinton officials say a number of things have to happen. First of all, the wildfire threat has to be over. Then there needs to be air quality and drinking water assessments that have to be done. Roads, bridges, and transportation routes have to be safe and accessible, as well as hazardous areas have to be identified and secured.
All right, thank you for that. That's Caroline Bargut in Vancouver. On Vancouver Island, more than 70 hikers have been evacuated from the West Coast Trail due to heavy rainfall. Since Sunday, locals have ferried dozens of hikers off the popular trail. Parks Canada warns sections of the 75-kilometer trek have become impassable. Hikers have reported knee-deep mud with creeks and rivers running high. Visitors are being urged to cancel or postpone their trips. And in southwestern France, wildfires are forcing thousands more people out of their homes. And as Chien Desjardins shows us, an incoming heat wave is adding another layer of complications in that country, as well as in neighboring Spain.
From the sky, a sinister scene. Dense smoke growing from a sliver of relentless flames west of Bordeaux in France. On the ground, a desperate fight to stop it.
The fire is big. It's like David against Goliath.
It's already torched an area 4 times the size of Paris, chasing hundreds of thousands out. Officials say it's stabilized, but warn that grip could slip.
The wind is very strong. Extreme droughts, very high temperatures, and difficulty terrain have made this fire highly unapproachable.
Crews trying to cut it off where they can, with temperatures expected to spike into the 40s this week. Roughly 4,000 people on the Atlantic coast on Tuesday were told to evacuate.
Once those fires are large enough to propagate, they will just keep growing. And as long as there's fuel and the weather conditions are right, they will carry on burning.
It's a similar situation in Spain, he says. All hands on deck. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says the days ahead will be especially challenging. Several blazes are still out of control. This one, Spain's largest ever recorded, sneaking through the trees, creeping towards a town outside Madrid.
We've had heat wave after heat wave after heat wave.
And the country bracing for another. Temperatures hit 37 degrees in Madrid Tuesday, and it's expected to get hotter.
We are in for another extreme event, the latest in, unfortunately, a series, combined with extreme drought.
Adding fuel to the fires, already tough to contain. Chien Desjardins, CBC News, Toronto.
Multiple people have died, and there are fears more are still trapped in the rubble after a powerful earthquake struck southern Japan. Julia Wong shows us the moment it happened.
Scenes of panic and terror inside this Costco in southern Japan after a massive earthquake. Tuesday, the Japanese Meteorological Agency said a magnitude 7.1 earthquake struck Kyushu Island near the city of Kumamoto.
And it went into survival mode, it felt like at that point, because everything in the room is shifting and you're thinking, is my apartment going to give way? And is this going to get more intense? But it went from 0 to 100 almost immediately.
The tremors so strong they rattled trucks, toppled shrines, and overturned trains.
It felt like my apartment was on it was a cruise ship or something at that point, that you're just kind of swaying in the ocean. And that didn't really stop until I went to bed, 7-8 hours later.
At this partially destroyed mall, at least 2 women died, and rescuers worked furiously to free those believed to be trapped. The second floor reportedly collapsed after an explosion caused by a gas leak. Critical infrastructure also badly damaged, and 300,000 people have been told to shelter in evacuation centers. The Japanese Prime Minister warns the risk isn't over. She urged residents to stay alert, saying there could be strong aftershocks in the coming week. This region was struck by a devastating earthquake 10 years ago.
Since 2016, a lot of things has been kind of restored, retrofitted. So the Kumamoto has been just in a good shape for the next earthquake. So that is why we don't hear catastrophic kind of damages.
But that doesn't mean cleanup will be easy or fast, with some experts saying it could take months for everything to get back to normal.
Global Affairs Canada says it isn't aware of any Canadians affected by the earthquake, but it's urging Canadian travelers in the area to be careful. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Canada-U.S. Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc is in Washington this week in hopes of a breakthrough in negotiations. This as the U.S. president tells Fox News that he doesn't care about the Canada-U.S.-Mexico agreement.
I'd rather be independent. Here's the thing. Mexico and Canada need us. We don't need them. The deal is important for them. It's not important for us.
Prime Minister Mark Carney said last week Canada is pursuing an overall trade agreement with the U.S. rather than just a CUSMA deal. Trump is also threatening Canada with new 50% tariffs. Also in Washington today, the Israeli Prime Minister and Ukrainian President both attended a memorial for the late U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham. And Tom Perry tells us both also separately met with the U.S. president behind closed doors.
Washington remembering one of its own, Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, who died suddenly this month at the age of 71.
He was a man who gave America the full measure of his good and mighty heart until that heart itself just gave out.
Graham went from being a staunch critic of Donald Trump to an adoring supporter and influential voice. He helped persuade the president to pursue his war against Iran.
Long time no see.
And traveled frequently to Ukraine, working to prod Trump into backing the country's fight against Russia.
He was extremely hawkish. I will tell you, he never saw a war that he didn't like.
Both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu traveled to Washington for Graham's memorial, both making stops at the White House to meet with Trump. For Netanyahu, this was the first visit since the start of the Iran war, Israel's government pressing its argument Iran remains a threat. As the war has dragged on, tensions have emerged between the U.S. and Israel.
On this Tuesday morning, we are joined by phone with our President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Trump went on Fox News and was asked about warnings from Netanyahu Iran is fortifying a key nuclear site.
Well, I don't need Bibi to tell me that. Bibi's telling me that because he wants me to stay involved.
As for Zelenskyy, the Ukrainian leader posted photos of his meeting with Trump and thanked the U.S. president repeatedly.
You're in no position.
A safeguard, perhaps, after his disastrous Oval Office encounter last year when Trump and his vice president attacked Zelenskyy for not showing sufficient gratitude for U.S. military support. In this latest meeting, Zelenskyy says he and Trump discussed the possibility of Ukraine building its own Patriot missiles and also talked diplomacy, though he says his main message was one of condolence for Lindsey Graham, who Zelenskyy calls a true friend of Ukraine. Tom Perry, CBC News, Washington.
There's breaking news tonight out of Ontario, where the province appears to be reconsidering its support for the federal government's high-speed rail project. This after Ottawa decided not to back the province's expansion of Toronto's Billy Bishop Airport. Kate McKenna is on the story for us tonight. So, Kate, take us through what you've learned.
Two sources with knowledge of discussion say the Ontario government was surprised when the federal government said it won't support Premier Doug Ford's proposal to expand Toronto's Island Airport for jets. Surprised because there was a tentative agreement that if Ottawa backed jets landing at the Billy Bishop Airport, then Ontario would support the federal high-speed rail project between Ontario and Quebec, known as ALTO. One source says Ontario's ALTO support is now in jeopardy. And sure enough, this evening, 11 Ontario MPs issued a statement calling out the project, saying in the case of ALTO, too many questions remain unanswered, too many voices have been ignored. If ALTO is to proceed, local voices impacted by this project deserve to see their feedback reflected in the project's planning, route, selection, and delivery. This also marks a shift in tone from the Ontario government. Previously, Mark Carney and Doug Ford had been getting along well, but today the province's transport minister took some shots.
We've seen the federal government here listen to a small French group in Toronto, but we as the province will continue to push forward on a modernization of this airport. We urge the federal government to continue to consider that proposal because it's a proposal that that makes sense for people that want to travel through air and have different options. And it's also about building big projects. You know, if Prime Minister Carney and his team want to, this is how they're going to treat bigger projects, I don't think you'll get much built.
So, Kate, what happens next?
Well, Ontario says it will keep pushing for the airport expansion, but without federal government support, it's not clear how that would happen. Meanwhile, federal Liberals are facing questions about their change in tone on the airport. A senior Liberal source says the timing was no accident. There is a by-election coming in Toronto in late August in Beaches, East York, where the airport expansion faced opposition.
All right, thanks, Kate. That's Kate McKenna in Ottawa. Ottawa says it's making it easier for Canadians over the age of 16 to renew their passports online.
They will be able to begin their renewal online whenever it is convenient for them to do so.
Before today, online applications were limited to a certain number of available appointments, and Ottawa is now lifting that cap. But in order to renew online, your passport must expire within the next 6 months or have already expired. You must also apply from within Canada. Starting Friday, Albertans will be allowed to pay out of pocket for medical scans like MRIs and X-rays without a doctor's referral. The province is the first to make the move, but as Christine Birak shows us, some doctors say it could make backlogs even worse.
Starting Friday, Albertans can pay out of pocket for MRIs and other medical scans. No doctor's referral needed.
Early detection means better outcomes and healthier people, and it means more confidence and timelier answers for Albertans and their families when it matters most.
The Premier calls it proactive healthcare, but most medical experts disagree, saying the policy lacks evidence, offers little to no benefits for patients, and risks overloading public care.
Total body MRI will not extend your life by a single day. And the reason for that is because it will detect abnormalities that would have never bothered you in the first place.
The Alberta Medical Association warns these paid scans often catch harmless findings known as incidentalomas that trigger unnecessary anxiety, invasive procedures, and an estimated $784 in public follow-up costs every time a patient takes those results back to a doctor.
I have no problem supporting more efficient access for those who really need it.
Alberta's own numbers show the public system is already struggling. Only 41% of MRI patients are seen within target wait times, with a median wait of 53 days. Critics warn adding self-referred paying customers to the mix will only divert scarce staff away from public hospitals.
There's still just a finite pool of highly skilled professionals who are able to perform these tests.
Canadian radiologists go even further, calling untargeted full-body scans the illusion of proactive health that delivers uncertainty over diagnosis and harm.
In other jurisdictions like Europe and South Korea, where they have privately paid direct-to-consumer testing, it's led to an industry that has preyed on the fears and concerns of patients.
Private MRI scans start at around $1,000. The Canada Health Act states care must depend on need, not your wallet. As Alberta opens a fast track for those who can pay, federal officials say they're defending public care, but won't say if Alberta's plan crosses the line.
So, Christine, the province says patients who discover a cancer diagnosis through a self-referred scan can apply for a government refund.
That's right. It's worth noting that studies show less than 2% of these types of scans detect cancer in otherwise healthy people. That means 98% of people will end up paying out of pocket, and the public healthcare system will have to pay for that follow-up care and all the false alarms.
All right. Thanks, Christine.
You're welcome.
Johnson & Johnson has agreed to pay a settlement of $5.5 billion U.S. to resolve tens of thousands of lawsuits. They're related to claims that the company's baby powder and other talc products caused ovarian cancer. The legal battle has been going on for a decade. A condition of the settlement is that at least 95% of claimants participate. And some very welcome news in Uganda, where officials have declared the Ebola outbreak there is over.
So today, as we speak now, Uganda is Ebola free.
Authorities say the country's last patient was released from hospital on June 16th, and 2 incubation cycles have since passed without a new case. The outbreak in neighboring Congo, however, is still growing, with more than 3,200 cases now reported. Hundreds of thousands of Haitians who have been living and working legally in the U.S. for years now are at risk of deportation. This after the U.S. government terminated their temporary protected status. As Natalia Weichsel explains, there is a push for more of them to be let into Canada.
In the U.S., concern and growing fear in the Haitian community as temporary protected status ends for more than 300,000 Haitians in the country.
When you put yourself, under those people's skin, you can. It's very, very, very tough time.
Haitians were granted temporary protected status after the 2010 earthquake. It was extended as violence in Haiti worsened. But it is now scrapped, part of the U.S. government's crackdown on immigration. a move being met with pushback.
Haiti is hell today. So you'd be sending people back, literally back to hell.
Very stressed, very tense.
This immigration coordinator in Montreal says calls are pouring in from Haitians fearing ICE arrests.
They're really stressed. They don't go out. They stay in their apartment.
Others are choosing to flee.
One
Haitian woman CBC News spoke to over the phone says she's scared of being deported, and so she crossed into Canada. We've agreed not to identify her because she's concerned it'll interfere with her asylum proceedings. She says she wants to live a normal life in this country, but seeking refuge north of the border is not easy because Canada considers the U.S. a safe place for those who land there first.
The problem is that under the Safe Third Country Agreement, many people would then be pushed back to the United States.
Migrants from the U.S. can only stay in Canada if they have a family member in the country or are a minor traveling alone, but many say that should be expanded.
It's an extremely alarming situation in the U.S. It's a country that their system of asylum has broken down and is no longer working.
The federal government says that it takes its international obligations regarding asylum seekers seriously and that it's monitoring the border. Natalia Weichsel, CBC News, Montreal.
Rancid fish sauce that has plagued residents of a Newfoundland town for decades is finally being removed.
This is capelin and salt fermented and sitting in vats for 20 years.
The operation aimed at solving a 1 million liter problem. A new liquefied natural gas facility is nearly operational in BC, but is it actually environmentally friendly?
At the end of the day, it is still a fossil fuel.
Why some say future generations will pay the price. And a lizard on the loose. We're back in 2.
Here come the Canucks. O'Connor through the middle, out in front. They score! His last goal came in
NHL fans in this country will need a Prime Video subscription to watch some hockey games next season. The Amazon-owned streaming service now has the exclusive rights to broadcast Wednesday night national NHL games, as well as some first and second round playoff series. It's all part of a 12-year deal it's signed today with Rogers Communications. An abandoned fish sauce plant in Newfoundland is finally being cleaned up. For decades, the smell of rancid fish made life in a small town nearly unbearable. Leila Baudouin shows us the work underway to be rid of the stench.
This putrid sludge is finally leaving town.
This is capelin and salt fermented and sitting in vats for 20 years.
The first truckload of rotting fish sauce ingredients abandoned decades ago is now being hauled away.
It was a bit emotional, a lot of time put in this project, too much.
The smell has tormented people living in St. Mary's, Newfoundland for decades.
I'm even known as the sauce plant mayor.
The Atlantic Seafood Sauce Company first opened in 1990 with the promise of economic prosperity. But a decade later, after legal and regulatory battles, the owner left the site abandoned.
And the people of St. Mary's can take their town back away from this fish sauce.
Over the years, there have been health and environmental concerns, and it's been a fight to get it cleaned up. The province now agreeing to foot the bill.
We couldn't be more proud than to be standing here today and watching this fish sauce leave this community.
But the smell could get worse before it gets better, as this cleanup process vacuums out 1 million liters of fermenting, rotting fish that's been baking in the sun for decades.
This is the finished product.
Crews are now adding peat to the liquid to help solidify it before trucking it to a nearby town, where it will get stored in these swimming pool-like landfills underground. Airtight, vacuum sealed.
Very, very
happy. Waste solidified, now leaving site.
It's about time.
It's expected to take 200 truckloads to remove it all. Officials say the cleanup could stretch on until October. Layla Baudouin, CBC News, St. Mary's, Newfoundland.
There's new insight suggesting the suspect in the Berlin Pride attack would not have been eligible for a program aimed at de-radicalizing him.
He was in kind of a limbo where nobody really knew where he belonged.
How the program works and why he may not have qualified. A multi-billion-dollar facility in BC aimed at exporting liquefied natural gas to Asia is nearing completion.
We've got to be pragmatic and take an overall approach to this. It says how much of this do we do, and then how much of it can we actually push to solar and renewables.
The goal, making Canada an energy superpower, but at what cost? There are now multiple reports that German investigators have found a video of the Berlin Pride attacker pledging allegiance to ISIS. 21-year-old Abdul Balut also served time after attempting to join ISIS in Lebanon and had recently been ordered to take part in de-radicalization training. Ashley Fraser looks at how the programs work and why Balut would have been disqualified.
So many questions still remain about the deadly attack at Berlin's Pride Festival over the weekend. One of them about how de-radicalization programs work. The suspect, who has since been shot and killed by police, Abdul Balut, was a 21-year-old German citizen who had known ties to ISIS. He had been convicted for preparing a serious violent act, but was referred to a de-radicalization program upon his probation. The organization running the program says they were trying to determine his eligibility for it.
He was in what we call a clearing phase, a clearing process.
That's Cornelia Lotthammer, the head of communication at the Violence Prevention Network.
We've had 2 meetings with him, and the 3rd meeting was yet to come.
That meeting would have been just days ago, but Lotthammer says her colleagues believed he wouldn't have been eligible for the program.
He sort of pretended, I'd say, a fake cooperation. He didn't really answer their questions, or he just answered questions that he thought they would want to hear, and he was not open to the process.
She says the referral to a de-radicalization program should have come sooner.
He was in kind of a limbo where nobody really knew where he belonged. It was a very late point for him to start a de-radicalization.
Lotthammer says in the 490 cases at the Violence Prevention Network, only one other individual has been unsuccessful in the high-risk program. So how do these de-radicalization programs work exactly?
One can make a comparison to rehab programs for like drug abuse or alcohol abuse. And in a way, there's an assessment that is made of the weaknesses of the individual, in this case, why he radicalized, and then a very tailored program is put in place.
Lorenzo Vedino is the director of the program on extremism at George Washington University.
Germany has actually been one of the pioneering countries in setting up a system in which once an individual is released, or in some cases with individuals who are radicalized but have not yet carried out any criminal activity.
And while those programs have worked with far-right extremists, specifically neo-Nazis, going back to the 1990s, they started expanding in the 2010s to focus on jihadist extremists.
So there's a psychological component, there's the idea of maybe having the family involved, there's the idea of reinserting that individual into society, try to get him a job, try to get him an apartment. It's trying to see what are the angles that can work on every specific individual and what could lead that individual to abandon the worldview or at least the idea of using violence.
Mubin Sheikh is a counterterrorism expert.
So ideology, grievances, lost sense of identity, meaning and belonging. These are some of the things that contribute to the radicalization process.
He is also a former extremist who briefly trained with the Taliban in the 90s before abandoning the ideology. He now works with individuals as young as 14 through de-radicalization programs.
In our cases, we get paired up with another practitioner, another professional who might be a social worker, a psychologist, probably to kind of do the clinical side of things. And we do more of the contextual, cultural side of things. So in my case, with my former extremist experience, plus my, counterterrorism agent experience, it goes a long way because I can tell them that, I'm basically your future self 25 years in the future, coming back to talk to you because I wish I had somebody to talk to when I was your age.
He says there are cases where an individual might be too unwilling for a de-radicalization program to work, like the case in Berlin.
I think the practitioners who were there felt maybe he wasn't a good fit. And at some cases, you are going to find people who are they're just not ready at that time.
But like Lotthammer, he says these programs are critical in the counterterrorism process. A practitioner might work with someone for over a year in the program.
In many cases, these practitioners, when they're doing these one-on-one interventions, are having conversations with these individuals that nobody else will have with them. One extreme is, oh, you can de-radicalize everybody. The other extreme is, oh, you can't de-radicalize anybody. The truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
And Vedino agrees that these programs serve as an important tool.
Nobody has the expectation that they will magically solve the problem of radicalization and would substitute themselves to penalties, to prison, and to the work of law enforcement, the traditional counterterrorism approach. They are one of the tools that can be used together with the other tools of counterterrorism.
Organizers at Montreal Pride say they're boosting security in the wake of the attack, and organizers of Capital Pride in Ottawa are reviewing their security measures. BC's Woodfibre liquefied natural gas terminal is being touted as the world's first net zero export facility, but not everyone is buying the hype. Lindsay Duncombe breaks down what the project promises and why critics call it greenwashing.
This is the kind of energy project the Prime Minister likes to brag about. Woodfibre LNG, under construction in breathtakingly beautiful Howe Sound, working with the Squamish Nation, almost ready to export Canadian liquefied natural gas to Asia.
What will it feel like when this is all up and running? I'm hoping it'll be pretty boring because it'll be smooth. But it'll be a really exciting moment for Canada, I think.
Kelly Steeves is the head of engineering support.
So right now we're in the heart of the Woodfibre facility.
She takes me into the terminal to explain why, when it comes to exporting fossil fuels, what's happening here is pretty much as green as it gets.
For most LNG facilities, they're driven by a gas turbine. Here instead, we're using a Siemens Energy electric drive motor. So it uses BC Hydro's energy to be able to run the facility.
It's kind of like the Tesla of natural gas terminals, plugged into the grid. Energy needed to cool and compress LNG will come from BC Hydro, reducing emissions significantly.
So in other facilities, that would be powered by gas, but here it's essentially water.
Exactly.
Net zero means reducing greenhouse gas emissions as much as possible.
In fact, by using hydropower to reduce emissions and purchasing carbon credits to offset the rest, Woodfibre promises it will be net zero by 2027. BC wants all new LNG terminals to use electricity instead of gas, although rules have been relaxed a bit because the grid's not ready. Canada's only export terminal, LNG Canada, began exporting from Kitimat last year. It's conventional, not electric. Gas piped in from eastern BC is chilled to liquid form for transport. It takes a lot of energy. Electrification is a major selling point for Ottawa.
Thank you for what you're doing. This is what's going to drive prosperity in this country.
Natural Resources Minister Tim Hodgson posted this video after touring Woodfibre last year.
I was just in Germany last week, and I'll tell you what I heard loud and clear was they want our energy. They see it's got the lowest carbon footprint in the world. President Donald Trump says every time Iran attacks a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, the US will destroy an Iranian bridge or power plant.
Canada's energy pitch is even more relevant now. The war in the Middle East trapped 20% of the world's LNG supply in the Strait of Hormuz. The Prime Minister and the Premier want to fill demand fast.
Canada and British Columbia will work together to accelerate the projects that will unlock Canada's full potential as a global energy superpower, starting with LNG.
The urgency and uncertainty of global politics may be overshadowing opposition to LNG projects, but it's still there. Activists unfurled this banner in downtown Vancouver during the World Cup.
We also have seen the argument that, Canadian LNG is somehow cleaner or net zero or anything like that. Even if it were true that it was somehow cleaner, at the end of the day, it is still a fossil fuel.
When you hear how natural gas is cleaner because of using electricity, what do you make of that?
Greenwash. Absolute greenwash.
Environmentalist and physician Tim Tuccaro worries Canada's LNG plans will accelerate global warming and make people sick.
We know that these plants emit poisonous gases, and yet we're pretending as if, oh no, we have the cleanest LNG in the world.
He doesn't buy the whole electrification means cleaner LNG idea, because he argues gas not burned on the site will just be sold and burned elsewhere.
They're going to sell it and it will be burned, right? So it's not saving the atmosphere, it's not saving communities, because it is still being transported and burned somewhere.
Why should the nation be a part of something like this? What alternatives do we have?
Ian Campbell knows those worries well. He is a hereditary chief of the Squamish Nation, a former elected band councillor, and he negotiated the terms of the nation's agreement with Woodfibre.
It's not an easy sell to the general public or to our membership, so we had to go into deep consultation for probably 2 or 3 years with our membership.
The agreement reached back in 2019 is huge. The Squamish will receive more than $1 billion in payments over time, and for the first time ever, the nation will act as the regulator.
That really allowed us to then have oversight on the project.
Every permit, every environmental decision needs Squamish approval.
I think what distinguishes Squamish Nation from other regulators is our cultural and spiritual connection to our lands and waters. I think that Western culture is largely removed spiritual context when it comes to relationship to natural resources.
Woodfibre CEO Luke Showerty puts it like this.
You're working on the traditional territories of the Squamish Nation. They have a voice, they have a say, and they have a view. And the only way that this project happens is if they actually decide that they want to have it happen here.
It's a far cry from the way things used to be. There was no benefit agreement with the Squamish more than a century ago when a pulp mill was built here.
2, 1, fire!
The site was demolished in 2006, but never cleaned up properly. Restoration was one of the nation's conditions for the LNG project.
So definitely environment was first and foremost to us. We wanted to make sure that the revitalization of Howe Sound was paramount.
Those protections don't change Tuccaro's mind on LNG.
This is not a clean industry, and it is polluting both locally and globally.
In this climate, though, you can see how Canadians might say this kind of gas, doing it in this method, is less worse when we need to make money now.
Yeah, well, tell that to my great-grandchildren, because they're the ones that are going to suffer under this type of attitude.
You know, at my own kitchen table, there's often conversations saying, Dad, you work in this type of industry. What does it mean for my future?
Woodfibre's CEO gets questions about that from his teenage kids. For him, this is the best step to an energy transition.
I think that there's a healthy middle that's saying we've got to be pragmatic and take an overall approach to this. It says how much of this do we do, and then how much of it can we actually push to solar and renewables.
Producing energy like this takes more time, can be more expensive, and not everyone's on board. But governments, Ottawa, BC, and many Indigenous nations are all in on this approach, as clean as possible under the circumstances.
The Woodfibre LNG project is now over 65% complete, and construction is expected to wrap up in late 2027. And coming up, did Jeffrey Epstein help set up Donald and Melania Trump?
I met my husband by chance at the New York City party in 1998.
Why some doubt the First Lady's position. We know U.S. President Donald Trump met his third wife, Melania, back in 1998. What isn't as clear is who introduced them and whether Jeffrey Epstein played a role. Back in the spring, Katie Nicholson and CBC's Visual Investigations team took a closer look at the evidence.
Who really introduced Donald Trump to his now wife, Melania, for years? Paolo Zempoli, an Italian entrepreneur and close friend of Trump's from the early 90s, and Melania's former modeling agent, has told and retold a story about how he introduced Trump to the woman who would become his third wife in 1998.
So you introduced Donald to Melania?
Yes.
And what was that introduction like?
I say, Melania, please meet my dear friend Donald.
But some Epstein file sleuths point to a document that they say appears to contradict that. This is the file casting doubt on that story, a typewritten FBI report from a July 12, 2019 interview with an Epstein assistant. Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump.
Apparently, Epstein introduced Donald Trump and Melania.
Did Jeffrey Epstein really introduce Donald Trump to Melania?
But dig a little deeper and you'll find this document. Our visual analysis shows they appear to be the handwritten notes from that same interview with the assistant. Same date, same details from the interview, like when she worked for Epstein and a job offer at Victoria's Secret. But they show a different set of facts about how Melania first met Trump. Put in contact with agent Paolo Zempoli, ID Models. That was the modeling agency Zempoli owned. He trying to buy elite models with J.E., meaning Jeffrey Epstein. He introduced Melania Trump to Prez, the witness goes on to say. She thinks he ambassador now, according to the notes. At the time, Zempoli was a UN ambassador. We asked the FBI for clarification on the differences between the typewritten and handwritten notes. They referred us to the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice said there is no discrepancy. That's confusing. So we wrote to them again. They referred us to the First Lady's comments.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
That surprise press conference Melania Trump held in April.
Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998.
The timing baffled people.
These kinds of press conferences only come when a major bombshell story is about to drop on that exact topic.
This announcement from the First Lady comes less than a week after Pam Bondi was fired from her job as Attorney General, and just one day after the Trump Department of Justice announced that Bondi would not testify about her handling or mishandling of the Epstein files.
The questions swirling around this meet cute have ruffled feathers at the White House. Epstein and the release of the Epstein files have been a constant headache for this administration. There are images of Trump and Epstein going back to the 90s looking quite chummy. That's before Trump says he fell out with the sexual predator somewhere around 2004.
I have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert.
But Zempoli, the alleged Cupid, has never fallen out with Trump. Zempoli, for years, worked for the Trump Organization and now is a special envoy to the U.S. president. And he revels in his closeness to the First Family, even posting this AI video for the First Lady's birthday. We asked the Office of the First Lady about what role Zempoli played in her introduction to the president. They didn't get back to us.
Even more files related to Jeffrey Epstein could soon see the light of day. This week, the U.S. Department of Justice will turn over documents to a federal judge who will determine if they should be released publicly. Coming up, a sudden escape during a special delivery.
He shocked everyone when he came rushing out of that bag the way he did.
Titan, the iguana's dash, and the work to get him back next in Our Moment. Okay, so this is Titan, the iguana, during an unexpected stroll at a Memphis FedEx facility. The lizard got loose as his owner was making sure that he was okay before taking him home. Titan's decision to bolt caught everybody off guard, and tonight that escape and the chaos that followed makes Our Moment.
Normally, iguanas, when they're handled, you know, they kind of tend to pretend like they're dead. And I was thinking that this was going to be the case, or at least he sit long enough for me to grab him. But Titan had other plans. As soon as he saw that light, he was like, "Oh, freedom!" And he shocked everyone when he came rushing out of that bag the way he did. And when she came from out the back with it, she was like, "Oh my God, what is this big thing?" And I said, "Oh, it's just a pet that I got. There's an iguana in there."
Possibly about 6 feet.
She said, "Oh, we need to see him and make sure he's still alive." So I opened up the box and it shocked me. I can't believe he just did that. And one of the younger employees, he kind of like boxed off the section so he couldn't run back again. And then I just went back there and grabbed him.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir. He's scared.
Yeah, he just scared.
Big shout out to the workers at FedEx because they were good sports.
All right, I guess no one puts Titan in the corner. From all of us at the National, thank you for being with us. I'm Chris Reyes. Take care.